Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really cool piece of environmental tech that's actually turning polluted lakes back into thriving ecosystems. And believe it or not, it all starts with a pretty surprising question.
I know, it sounds a little weird, right? You think of a lake, you think of swimming, fishing, wildlife. You definitely don't think of it as a source of a major greenhouse gas. But more and more, that's exactly what's happening right under the surface. And it's really just a symptom of a much, much bigger problem.
You've probably seen the headlines about this, or maybe you've even seen it for yourself. These massive, gross, toxic algae blooms that make the water totally unsafe. Well, these things create these oxygen-starved dead zones, and that's when they kickstart a process that ends up releasing huge amounts of methane straight into our atmosphere. All right, so first up, let's break down the actual problem here. It's something called harmful algae blooms, or HABs for short. And you know, really understanding this is the key to seeing just how clever the solution really is. Now, what's so wild here is how this all works like a chain reaction. The first things we notice, right, are the obvious ones. The dead fish, that awful smell. But as all that algae dies and sinks to the bottom, it starts to decompose. And that process, well, it sucks up all the oxygen at the bottom of the lake, which creates that dead zone. And it's right there, in that zero oxygen environment, that the hidden threat, all that methane, really starts getting produced.
So the big question is, how do you fight something like this without just, dumping a bunch of chemicals into the water and making things worse? Well, the answer is to work with nature, not against it. So let's get into the solution: BioHaven floating islands and what they call RAM systems.
And the whole idea here, the really key part, is that this is not some quick fix. It's about restoring the natural balance of the lake. So instead of harsh chemicals, these systems use natural circulation, they create new habitats for helpful little microbes, and they gently add oxygen right where it's needed the most to kickstart the lake's own ability to heal itself.
And this isn't some one-size-fits-all kind of deal either. The technology is actually really smartly designed for different environments. So you've got the RAM 1 system, which is perfect for shallower water like treatment ponds. It actually creates this visible little stream right on top of the island. But for deeper lakes and big reservoirs, they use the RAM 2 system, which takes a more targeted approach with a special vented pipe to get that treatment deep, deep down below the surface.
So how on earth does a floating island with what's basically a simple pump completely transform a lake's chemistry? Well, the science behind it is pretty fascinating, and it all comes down to controlling the environment at the very, very bottom.
So to really get the solution, you first have to understand the battlefield. And that's the benthic zone. Basically, it's the bottom layer of the lake, right on top of all the sludge and sediment. This is where all that dead algae ends up, it's where the oxygen just disappears, and it's where that methane production kicks into high gear.
And this is where the genius of the RAM system really shines. It's just so simple. It basically acts like a lung for the lake. It gently pulls up that stagnant, oxygen-poor water from way down in the benthic zone. Then it infuses it with oxygen. And this part is absolutely crucial. It puts that refreshed water right back where it came from, without churning up the lake's natural temperature layers.
This is where it gets really cool. It's like a microbial battle happening at the bottom of the lake. You see, in a totally dead zone with zero oxygen, the bad guys, these microbes called methanogens, they take over and just pump out methane. But by adding just a little bit of oxygen, the RAM system creates the perfect conditions for the good guys, methanotrophs. And these amazing microbes actually eat methane for food. They just gobble it up, stopping it before it can ever even reach the atmosphere.
And the island itself? Oh, it plays a massive role. It's made of this special matrix of recycled plastic fibers. Just think of it like a giant floating apartment complex for all those helpful microbes we were just talking about. This huge surface area gets coated in this sticky biofilm that basically acts like a natural filter, trapping and breaking down all sorts of pollutants, extra nutrients, even heavy metals.
So once you solve that core problem way down at the bottom of the lake, you trigger this whole cascade of positive effects that just ripples out through the entire ecosystem, and even into the local community and its economy.
And the results are things that people can actually see and enjoy. The water gets clearer. The fish come back because, hey, they can breathe again. Those awful smells just disappear, and even helps cut down on pests like mosquitoes that love to breed in stagnant water. All of a sudden, the lake is a beautiful community asset again, a place people actually want to go.
But get this, the benefits aren't just ecological. Healing the environment doesn't have to just be a cost. It can actually create real financial value. So let's talk about the money side of things.
By putting these systems in, a project can earn several different types of eco-credits. They get carbon credits because they're stopping all that methane from being released. They can get biodiversity credits because they're creating a new habitat for birds and fish. They can even earn clean water credits. It's a model where restoring the environment literally pays for itself.
And you know what? This technology is not just standing still. The team behind all of this is constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, looking for new ways to bring environmental restoration together with other industries.
You can really see how it's evolved right here on this timeline. I mean, it started with the basic floating islands. Then they added the RAM systems for that all-important targeted oxygenation. And next up is something called RAM 3, which, believe me, takes this whole concept in a truly revolutionary new direction.
Okay, you're going to want to sit down for this one. The next version, RAM 3, isn't just designed to clean the water. It's being designed to also harvest valuable heavy metals and even rare earth minerals right out of the sediment. I mean, this is a potential future where mining isn't about destruction, but about cleanup and restoration. It's an incredible concept.
And really, this quote from the CEO, Bruce Kania, just sums up the whole philosophy perfectly. It's not about forcing our solutions onto nature, but about creating systems where human ingenuity and natural processes can work together for a much better outcome for everyone.
So that really leaves us with this final big thought. This whole technology is just a fantastic example of biomimicry, learning from nature's own blueprints to solve our own problems. And it really makes you wonder, what other huge planetary scale challenges could we solve if we just took a second to stop and learn from the elegant systems that have been evolving all around us for millions of years? Thanks for watching.